Yeah, it's time to make the Scream 7 spoiler review. And honestly, I know this is controversial. I know there's a lot of controversy involved with this movie, but I really liked it. Let's start out with the beginning of the movie. A staple in this franchise, the opening kill. And yeah, this was awesome. It was brutal. Everything you want out of a great opener. The part where I guess it's technically the first kill of the movie, guy gets stabbed through the head. Did kind of remind me of Richie's death in Scream 5, but it was different enough, and it was cool and gory and awesome. Then after that, the girl, yes, was a little ridiculous, but and I kind of wish it wasn't spoiled in the trailer. But yes, I liked the stuff with the animatronic. Forgot to mention that. When she just fell from the balcony onto the knife. Ooh. And then Ghostface had the audacity to roast her alive, bro. When they burned down Stu's house was crazy. And something minor, might not even notice, is the title card is different than the other movies, and it's actually similar to the first movie, which I found cool. And I did quite like the dynamic between Sydney and Tatum, and how Tatum wanted to know more about Sydney's past. It was interesting stuff, although, in fact, I kind of wish they went further with it. I wish we got more of that. Joel McHale as Mark Evans, Sydney's husband, is actually cool and well written, and speaking of which, I like that they actually made Sydney and her husband smart. They're planned, they're prepared. Now let's talk about something that was kind of cool, kind of a misfire. Elephant in the room, Stu AI. Now, I wasn't mad Stu came back. I always like a good Matthew Lillard performance. The problem is, it wasn't real. And I think a lot of people's problems with this movie would be fixed if they didn't have this in the movie. If you got rid of all references to Stu, there's still the real world controversy, which you can't really fix now, unless they rehired her, which they're not going to do, and she probably wouldn't return anyway. Off topic, if they removed all references to Stu and all pre-existing characters coming back, like Dewey, Roman, and Billy's mother, I don't think this would have been hated as much. If you set up crazy expectations the fans want, and then don't fulfill them, you're setting yourself up for failure. Although I do like just seeing Matthew Lillard just having fun, because it's clear he likes making movies. He has fun on screen. Besides, the opening, here's where we have, the first big, I guess you could say, set piece. The theater. That kill was crazy. And I actually really appreciated that scene. Being a theater kid myself, I'm actually extended rehearsal, waiting for my show to, start. Whole time isn't for another, hour and 15 minutes. I digress. The scene where McKenna Grace's character was, swinging around on the ropes, and she just got gutted, that was brutal. I think these are some of the most violent and gory kills that we've seen in this franchise. Whole town kind of panics, and before long it's time to move on to our next set piece. Even better. We're never bored with. There's always something crazy happening on screen. It's not boring, it's a gripping narrative. It's fun. Admit it, it's fun. Have fun. The next stuff in the house is really where we get to see the characters be smart. Although there is one really dumb thing. I get Ghostface had a knife to Tatum's throat, but Mark, you had the gun pointed at the face. It's not like later in the movie where pretty much the same thing happened. At least Sydney wasn't aiming directly for the killer's face. Just pull the trigger and this would all be done. Having the safe room is such a Sydney thing to do. That was really cool, and even better is the crawl space that they had as another escape route. That was awesome. Scene where I don't know how he figured that out. I don't know how he would figure out that there's a crawl space in a wall, not just someone in the next room. Plot needs to plot. Whatever, it was cool. Where he's stabbing through the wall. It had me on the edge of my seat the whole scene, and Sydney bent the knife, and then he grabbed the fire poker. I legitimately jumped when he nicked Sydney. That whole thing was awesome. One of the best scenes in the movie was right after that when we see Gail for the first time. And she ran over the Ghostface with the van. Oh, that was awesome. And she got out of it and we see it's Gail and Chad and Mindy. That was really cool. I feel like it kind of went against her character. This is a real nitpick when Mindy said she's trying to surpass Gail. I found it was a very cool changing of the formula. We see a Ghostface gets killed halfway through the movie. And it kind of just becomes a big chase movie. As we see our now 2 Ghostface killers chasing these people all through the town. Interview with Sydney, I've seen people like hate on. I don't think it's that big of a problem. It's not really anything super out of Gail's character. Pretty much the same as she always was. When she was talking about Dewey was really sad. Although right after I have problems. Why did Sydney decide to just run to the bar where all the kid characters are? Like, I feel like there were easier ways of doing that. Like, she couldn't have just grabbed Gail's keys. Also, Gail disappears for, like, most of the movie after that. The scene at, like, the tavern, where most of the kills happen, honestly, was just slaughterhouse. I find it weird plot armor that Ghostface didn't kill Chad and Mindy. I mean, they were both injured and down and vulnerable to any attack, and they didn't bother. I feel like I'm being overly nitpicky just because everybody else is, but I think the way that they killed Celeste O'Connor's character was a little ridiculous. I get, like, Ghostface threw her into a bunch of glasses. Would that really kill her? One of, if not the best kill in the movie happened where the creepy little red herring kid who's obsessed with Sydney gets impaled through the back of the neck with a conveniently placed bar tap. Maybe not even conveniently placed, but conveniently sharp. That it was strong enough to, like, hold up dude's whole body. I don't mean like he was, like, leaning on it. It genuinely had him suspended in the air. And then the beer comes out of his mouth. Like, is that ridiculous? Yes, but it was fun. That was funny. Sounds like I'm hating on this movie, but I really did enjoy it. The red herring boyfriend character to Tatum, I honestly thought like he was not dead. Just because everybody else kept getting extravagant and wild kill scenes. He just got like stabbed in the back. About Chad in the last 2 movies where he got stabbed 20 times in Scream 5 and 40 times in Scream 6. I feel like cinema sins. There's just little things in this movie that irk me. Then again, we got a crazy set piece where Tatum goes into the coffee shop Sydney owns, and she like barricades the office door, and of course, Sydney being Sydney, she keeps a gun in her office. She instructs Tatum to shoot him, but then realizes that's like kinda hard to do. And she uses like AirPods Tatum has to communicate with her, and the security cameras, like, tells her, like, shoot through the wall. That was just such a crazy scene. Like, that was great. That's a scene where we get a good progression of the franchise. That is something new and fresh that we have not seen before. Then, Sydney tells Tatum to do the double tap on him, basically where the supposedly dead killer comes back to shoot him in the head. And she doesn't. Like, I can understand why she didn't want to kill, but that was kind of very frustrating to me. Then we move on to, like, the end, where we get revealed the Ghostface and the motivation in all of these movies. At this point in the movie, it's proven that Stu is AI. They made it so obvious that it already revealed who one of the killers is. The orderly from the, like, mental hospital. He was so obviously evil. But also, like, if Stu is AI, then he has to be one of the killers. Or at the very least, in cahoots. And we also see who, like, the main killer is. And that's Jessica, played by Anna Camp. Who, in my last Scream video, or before my spoiler-free review, where I was trying to predict what would happen, I said, like, TikTok already predicted this. It's what everybody's saying. On TikTok, that is. And throughout the movie, it was almost, like, too obvious. It had to be a red herring, and then it wasn't. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention right before this is when we see cameo scene, which, was it cheesy? Yes. Was it kind of nice to see these characters? I hate to admit it, but a little. Now, we already knew Scott Foley as Roman would be back, as well as Dewey, but basically they enter into the house, and we see Stu on a screen. And what was actually surprising, because they didn't already announce it a year before the movie came out, is when we actually saw Billy's mother. No, I will not be calling that character anything else. And yes, I do insist on saying it that way every time. But yeah, that was a surprise, and it just made me think, like, how much better would it have been if they at least didn't announce all these characters coming back? Yeah, I think Stu was a mistake, but if they absolutely had to keep that plot in, they shouldn't have announced Roman and Dewey coming back, because then we already know those characters are dead. We saw Dewey's corpse. We saw Roman get a bullet in his brain. Before the movie could even release, it removed all doubt that Stu was real. If they hadn't announced it, it would have at least made us a little bit believe Stu might actually be real. And also, it would have made us more surprised when we saw Roman and Dewey come back, like we were when we saw Billy's mother. I've talked about this for long enough. It's time that we actually talk about the killer reveal and the finale. Though I already talked about the killer reveal. Motivation reveal. Okay, the ghost face that got killed early on in the movie is pretty easy motivation to figure out. He got manipulated by the orderly, because he was a crazy guy. Jessica's motivation kind of made no sense. So halfway through her explaining it, I was like, what's everybody's problem with this? I thought this was cool. And then it started to get a little confusing and dumb. So she's explaining her husband was evil and abusive, and that was actually her first kill. She was inspired to move on as a survivor by Sydney's book in the fourth movie, so she became obsessed with her. Now, when you hear obsessed fan, we've been here before a couple times. And then it only kind of started to get worse from there. So then she wants to kill Sydney for some reason. I don't know why this also entailed killing all of, like, Tatum's friends. And she keeps Tatum alive because she wants Tatum to become the new Sydney? How did she plan on getting away with it? Like, I don't get why she had to kill everybody. How the hell she got the orderly guy to kill people too? Like, what does he have to do with anything besides being a thing to make you believe Stu's alive? I don't really get why she couldn't have just done that by herself. Like, I need to have a sit-down, face-to-face talk with Kevin Williamson, the director and writer. And he needs to explain what was any of that. I liked how the movie kind of wrapped up. How they defeated the ghost faces was cool. Although the orderly guy, was just dispatched so easily. But whatever. But what was really awesome was, I guess, what's technically like the final kill of the movie. You know how they shoot each killer in the head, for the most part? People talk about killers coming back for a future movie, be it Stu, or even pretty much any character that we don't directly see die. Yeah, Anne Camp character of Jessica, not gonna be one of them, I don't think. Bro, they shot her in the face like 27 times. Came off her face. Her face came off her skull. Not really sure the logic behind that, but whatever. That was cool. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my review of Scream 7. Don't get me wrong, not perfect. It's not an amazing Scream movie, but it is good. It's good enough. It's entertainment. It's what a lot of the fans just gotta remember. It's entertainment. It's just a movie. Despite me sounding negative in this video, easy to poke holes in a movie's plot. I feel like I was being overly negative in this video just because a lot of other people are. I try to be more positive and lenient on movies that I like. I try to give movies the benefit of the doubt. I'm willing to overlook this film's flaws and just enjoy it for what it is. If they didn't set up the Stu stuff, I think I said this earlier, like, this really wouldn't be hated. It would just be, you know, maybe a little disappointing because of the killer reveal. Really just the motivation, like, with, like, you know, who the killers are revealed to be, but, like, I don't think this would be as hated as it is. I think it'd kind of be similar to Scream 6. And I described in my spoiler-free review, it's very similar, more similar than you'd like to admit, to Scream 6. There's a lot of fun, intense set pieces, a lot of gory and intense kills. More, like, some of the most intense of the franchise. But the killer reveal and motivation are disappointing. I think some people just need to learn how to have fun. Yeah, I like this movie, and I'm not afraid to say it. I've dragged this on for too long. I think I'm probably gonna do the ranking videos where I rank every killer, every motivation, who had the best kills, what the best movie was, all that good stuff. And I hope you're there to see it. Thank you for watching.